So it's really a pleasure to have the city of Berkeley represented by such an exceptional lawyer. And I will note, doing it pro bono. I mean, he really is serving the people of our community and serving them well. And as Tony said, we're preparing to litigate if necessary. So with that, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Gray Brechin, who is a New Deal scholar at UC Berkeley and has written numerous books around, not only around the Bay Area history, but around the New Deal, and has been a strong supporter of the fight to save the Berkeley Post Office, is on the committee for saving the Berkeley Post Office. So without further ado, Gray.
Thank you. I have never been prouder of Berkeley. All of this grew out of a talk I gave at the Hillside Club almost 3 years ago about the loss of our post offices. And what was so impressive about that is that so many people got it right away. They got that this is a lot more than just losing beautiful buildings and art. They got that it's about losing an essential public service, which is in the Constitution, and that this is illegal. And so a lot of this grew out of that, and as the Los Angeles Times wrote last January, Berkeley is the epicenter of resistance. The resistance would be much larger if the press would just do its job, other than Judah Scheer, of letting people know around the country of what's going on. Not just the loss of these buildings, but of this essential public service and why it's happening. We are dealing with a literally criminal organization. There has been a takeover of the U.S. Postal Service. I have little doubt, we all know about the revolving door, which is so popular in Washington now. I have little doubt that Postmaster General Donahoe has a cushy job waiting for him at UPS or FedEx once he is finished with liquidating the Postal Service, which should be his trust and stewardship. That's what I think he was sent by the Board of Governors, most of whom are neoliberals dedicated to the privatization of the Postal Service. That's what he was sent to do. There should be a congressional investigation of what's going on, because I think that what we're looking at is something equivalent to Teapot Dome in the 1920s. This is a major scandal that is happening. The Postal Service, as Tony said, now regards itself not as a public service, but as a business, a for-profit business. And its motto should be something attributed to William Kissam Vanderbilt in the 19th century: the public be damned. They are proceeding against Berkeley, and I'm sure that there's an element of vengeance in the sale of this building, because they know that Berkeley has given them so much trouble. And so I think that there's some vengeance involved in this, which is why they're keeping so quiet about it. But they are proceeding around the country against the opinion, the wishes of every community, which is losing buildings like this in their downtown, centrally located, often with public works of art, which we all paid for and which we own. And so far, they've largely gotten away with it. Well, I don't think they're going to get away with it much longer, because Berkeley is going to basically stick a broomstick into the wheels, the spokes of their bicycle, and we're going to bring them to a halt. And I hope that there can be, with the help of an awakened press, a real investigation of what Patrick Donahoe and the people who he has gathered around himself are doing. It is a crime. And thank you so much for being here to be a witness to this crime. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gray. And one thing that sort of Gray touched upon, which I think is important to mention, and Tony had talked about this, the city of Berkeley had sent a letter to the Postal Service inquiring about what is the status of the sale of the property, the Section 106 process, because we've been hearing a lot of rumors, even before we learned that there's a contract to sell the building. And the response we essentially got from the Postal Service was, mind your own business. And that this is a business, it's not a governmental institution. And that because this is a business, we're not obligated to tell you who the buyer is, we're not obligated to tell you anything about the sale of this building. And so I think it's important to note that we've gotten to a state where our Postal Service thinks of itself as a business and not as a public institution. And that's what we're trying to fight. We're trying to fight the privatization of our essential public services. So with that, my pleasure to once again introduce Harvey Smith to say a few words.
Gray and I deal a lot with history, so I'm going to take a kind of a little look backward and then come back forward again. We're facing the closure of this post office in 2014, the 100th anniversary of the building, which is a scandal in itself. And as Gray said, we're essentially dealing with a rogue agency, the U.S. Postal Service. So we've been talking about the building, but what they're doing also affects the people that work for the Postal Service. I've observed this firsthand in my own neighborhood. I've got a letterbox in front of my house, and there used to be a guy that came around in a truck and emptied the box. So I think it was last week, I see my letter carrier emptying the box. And I say, "What's up? Why are you emptying the box?" He said, they've let all those guys go. They're looking for other positions. And now this is part of my duty. I said, "Well, I know sometimes you work late." He said, yeah, but I got to get this truck back by 6. So 2 days later, I'm coming back from some event, 10 o'clock at night, and I see my letter carrier still working. So this is no way to treat people. No way to treat people. So it's just indicative of other things going on with the U.S. Postal Service. So if we look at history, let's go back 2014, let's go back 30 years, 1984. Well, that's where a lot of this neoliberal stuff started. But that's also the name of a book, right? And that book kind of tells us a lot about what's going on. Surveillance, right? We all love our computers. Yeah, but they love us. We're looking at it, but most of the time it's looking at us too, right? 1984, perpetual war. So that one of the reasons we don't have money to do what we need to do in our communities. And another feature of the book is just control of the media. Everything that is out there is very well orchestrated. Okay, let's jump back again. 80 years, 1934. We're in the middle of the Depression. City of Berkeley gets lots of support in the depths of the Depression. We're looking at artwork in the post office. We're looking at the old Farm Credit Building, now the Civic Center. We're looking at Civic Center Park. We're looking at Berkeley High School and the Community Theater. Public development, okay? Community-oriented development. So we're not pandering to private developers to do something in our city to raise the tax base. We have support. So this is bigger. This is bigger than just the issue of the post office. Development like taxes. When we talk about taxes, we can't talk in the abstract. It's progressive and regressive, and the fact that we don't have really progressive taxation anymore is one of the reasons that we're dealing with this issue too. Maybe we'll jump back to 1904, or maybe even 1894, the Gilded Age. So it's said now, and I didn't say it, Janet Yellen, the head of the Federal Reserve, says it, we're back to the Gilded Age, the biggest gap in income since the Gilded Age. Part of the problem. Okay, let's come forward again. 2014. So what this is really about is, as Jesse said, as Gray has said, this is Wall Street versus Main Street. And this is Berkeley. So don't mess with Berkeley, U.S. Postal Service. Thank you.
That's right. Don't mess with Berkeley. So.